manage. All right.
Sorry, my mic was off. Are there going to be any more this idea of reincarnating characters? Are there going to be any more reincarnations we're going to see?
There will be one more, um, and that is Daiku, and it would borrowed off of a concept a long time ago. Now, of course, I started in the Dragon Ball fan content side of things, and I used that at first as practice for just learning how to write a story, characters, all that jazz. And when I took a second to look back at everything that I had, the whole premise of Nikkei was the idea that I had of if I were to end my Dragon Ball stuff, how would I end it? And while I was working on that, I had two different solutions. I was like, okay, I can easily just write them off into the sunset, and and then they looked at the sun and everything was all well and good. Or I can transition it into something else, because these characters are also concepts or archetypes that I personally enjoy and want to keep that and then build on that in a different way with my own original idea. Maybe not like that, Scourge, but so when it came to choosing those characters I wanted to take in transition, that was a very quick thought I had. Okay, Daiku and Latosa. They were the ones that I had started with, and their characters for me felt complete. I was done with them. I've been writing them for about 5-6 years, and I had completed their arcs in my mind. So here it was. In making the choice, I was like, okay, so I know Latosa. She's going to be a god, one of the strongest characters I have, if not, top two or tied in the one spot here. But I wanted to take it and then bundle it in with something I already had going on, and that was the dynamic of Koza and Lucifa. I write characters in pairs. So with that, for what Koza is to Lucifa, I needed that for Nikkei. And so with that came the Ethereans. That's what race Lucifa comes from. That's what race Nikkei comes from. So what they do, they exist out of linear space and time. So they exist everywhere, all the time, all at once. And they have their own guardian, in layman's terms. And so they had always existed. They had always been around. So to transition from the Dragon Ball stuff to the Lionhawk stuff, I had kind of wrote around what the original plot was, and that was basically there was going to be a threat in the Dragon Ball multiverse world or whatever, and Daiku and gang, they would have to fight it, and it would be unlike anything we've ever seen before, and it would eventually lead up to Daiku and his father fighting this threat from the extended Lightverse. It's one of the Ethereans, that is Lucifer's brother, Sam. I always mess up his name, which is crazy. Samael, and
It's not that crazy.
so.
Like, if not for
Mm-hmm.
hearing you talking about it that much, I'd still call Nikkei Latosa.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Yeah, I know.
the thing I was going to say with reincarnations, it's going to be so, like, hard to
Mm-hmm.
not to get it right at first, but it seems like you're more comfortable with it as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that like you kind of got to embrace it in a way, because you don't want to take it and completely just throw it out. It's like, no, this is who they are, but it's a double entendre in the way that they exist now. Um, so Daiku would be the one that I would take from the Dragon Ball world, also because of just who he is and his importance. And it's like poetry. It rhymes. Daiku is still a god in a different way. Lutosa is a god in a different way. So the fight would go on, and Daiku's father would die, and then smoke. I know, but it gets sadder. The smoke clears, and Daiku meets this other god. Now this is all I had in concept, and I didn't have this person, that person, but this was the general idea. Daiku would meet a god, and the god would tell him, "Hey man, you did an amazing job. I thought you guys were really gonna die and fuck it up, but you did amazing this time around." And by this time around, that god is referring to all the multiple timelines in which they fought and failed to fight against this threat. That's erasing their timeline. So they win, yeah, and the god to Daiku was like, "Congrats, you've bought yourself time." And now Daiku's like, "What the hell, man? Like, I just lost my dad. We went balls to the wall, everything. I used all my Zenkai boosts. What the hell?" And what the hell? So, the god in question tells him like, "Hey, man, I know it sucks. I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish, but you're gonna get, like, you're still gonna live. Everything as you know it, it's gonna be gone. But you guys, you're gonna be fine, just in a different way." And he's like, "What do you mean by that?" So this god basically like taps Daiku's forehead and shows him everything that's gonna happen. And he's like, "What the hell?" It's like it's like if what's a
Doctor Strange meets the ancient one.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it shows him the rebirth of everything, and technically it's not a rebirth because it always was, right? So he's like, "Yeah, this is where you're gonna go. This is what's gonna happen."
So wait.
And Daiku's like, "Yeah."
It's not a rebirth. It's always was. So it's not like.
Yes.
So it's not like the conscience. They have no memories of this life in the Dragon Ball side of things.
Mm-hmm. Also to avoid copyright and all these other things. But so basically, this is how I wrote Nikkei as a character that's always been there. So the symbol that is on the forehead of Daiku and Lutosa, that's Nikkei's mark. And when you have that mark branded on your body, Nikkei sees through you, because her job, what she does on the side, is that she's like the watcher, and she watches different realms, literally from anywhere, DC, Marvel, what you name it, she can look at it and analyze it and all that other stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. But there's a kicker. So she can send, and this is what she did with Lutosa. Lutosa's still Lutosa, by the way. It's not like Nikkei was living through Lutosa or anything like that. But what had happened was, when Nikkei sends a visage of herself or a part of herself to another realm, it slowly dies because she absorbs it slowly over time. So just her very being there in person or in another way literally causes the death of that realm that she's in. And that had been happening with Daiku's timeline. And Nikkei, she liked Daiku so much, she was just like, "You know what, I'll bring you along, but you won't remember everything from before." Mm-hmm.
That's how he tagged along.
Yep. So I have his name, and I spent a while on his name and looking up stuff and seeing what worked.
Hey, don't say don't say it. And just to be, I'm being foolish here, but Lucifa is still Lucifa, right?
Yes.
Okay. In case I was wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't say it, but that's fine. That's fair.
So, and this is Lucifa in her original state, before she had her powers stripped away from the other Etherean gods, before she was sent to the mortal realm, which is the base Lightverse. And Lionhawk, although it can be read by itself without spoiling anything from the Lightverse, this is in the way that the gods are moving, it happens after parts 1 and 2. But then it's the thing with the Ethereans, everything, everywhere, all at once. Um, so it's happening simultaneously and not. But I wrote it confusing on purpose. Um,
As long as you're not confused.
yeah, right. It's like, hold on, let me check my notes real quick. Hold on. But so with yeah. So when we get to everything that's going on with the Lionhawk story, Lucifa is there with I'll say, for lack of a better term, endgame Koza. Because Koza is her champion, of course, but the nickname for her champion is the Grim Reaper. So there's a
difference, right? Not death.
Yep.
Grim Reaper.
Not death. Yep.
Just the Reaper. Why does he have to be grim? Why does the Reaper always have to be grim? It could just be the Reaper. Makes him sound a bit less gloomy, right?
Yeah, I think the grim part maybe for like subtle aura farming.
Yeah, subtle aura farming. I see. What would be great,
Yeah.
like if there was ever, if from Ghost Rider,
Mhm.
from Marvel, if the Thing ever became the Ghost Rider.
Oh.
You see that? That would go so hard.
It would be that clobber in time transformation.
Not just because he's Rock, it would just be really.
Mm-hmm. Stop. All right. This guy, man. This guy. Back to back.
Anyway, brick for brick.
Brick for brick, yeah.
But yeah, honestly, yeah, that's good. It's like it's nice. It's well thought out, and yeah, I guess it is going back to the original intention of fading out. Well, now let me ask: did you have the idea for Lionhawk before the need or the desire to fade out your Dragon Ball continuity?
Well, no. That idea of Lionhawk came after. While I had already established and like wrote down what I needed to for the first 2 parts of the Lightverse, I had always wanted to do something fantasy based. I love fantasy.
I'd say I noticed.
Yeah, man. And I wanted to incorporate it within my own stuff without being like, all right, I'm doing 2 separate things at the same time and they don't connect in some way, shape, or form. So I wanted to do a multiverse, but I didn't want to do, I'm lights in this world and I'm the evil version of you in this one and da 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 da.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so I just went the route of, okay, yeah, sure, there is a multiverse, but there's only a set amount of carryover and a limited amount of alternate Earth, so to speak. And in each one, it's completely different. But the ones I'll be giving focus to is just the base Lightverse and Lionhawk. And both of them are different, and in theme and direction with the characters and how I make them. I think that I probably had the idea to like 100, like focus in on Lionhawk right when I think I was writing where I wanted Koza to go, because yeah. And I was just looking at the whole of it, and I was like, who is the most important characters out of the, or 2 characters, because I write in pairs. Who's the most important duo out of all of this? Okay, Koza and Lucifa. They'll be in the forefront all time. But I had thought about for a very long time, and I say this to some of my friends too, who I help with my writing. I say, like, you can make 100 OCs, you can make 100 characters. People will remember only a few of them, which is fine, by design, because every character has a different level of importance. Um, and that's okay. So lean into those characters sometimes, where you automatically know I made lights and Koza, but in my heart of hearts, I was like, Koza's probably gonna, be more important as time goes on. When I first started, like year one of the Lightverse, and then when I had all my stuff together, that's where I was able to start transitioning into, okay, now I can do the fantasy stuff. So uh I say, yeah.
Teamed up with a pretty decent artist as well.
Yeah, man.
Not to not to toot my own horn, not to
Hey.
fondle my own sack, not to not to beat my chest.
and I did look for and I might have found like some other people too that can help me with the fantasy stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think with you, yeah, with you in particular though, and I'm always like looking back at all the art you've done. uh I'm always thinking like, what's something that Dap hasn't really done a lot before? I know, because I know you get a lot of Dragon Ball stuff, or you get a lot of like fighting character based uh commissions. So I was like, maybe if I can, like, let's go outside the box a little bit, because you're always gonna get those people.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I recently got someone like a TikToker, popular anime TikToker reached out to me to be part of their team. They wanted to do manga. They had
Hmm.
some backers, and they just wanted like a senior artist to join on the
Yeah.
side of that. And I was like, yo, I've never done this kind of thing before, and like, I mean, I could do it, but like, let me know what it is, what exactly it is you guys are expecting from me, and maybe I'll be able to give a better answer. So we start talking, and I understand that what they wanted was me to do part of the inking. They already had like a base artist to do the sketching and um, the art style that they wanted. They just
Hmm.
wanted me to do inks, letters, sound effects, uh, inks, letters, and sound effects. Someone else was gonna do the toning or whatever. And I was like, that sounds like a lot. If it was just inking, yeah, I'd be your guy. Like I'm into inking. I've done inks before. Obviously, I showed them the time I was doing inks
Hmm.
for Zabieru Chronicles
Yep.
with X. Some of the manga pages I did for the Ryu Tournament of Power thing, and they were
Hmm.
like, "That's cool and shit." So they were like, "Yeah, like if you could just do a trial for us, that'd be great. That'd be cool." And it was one of the weeks where I think you got a fast track, and I was like, "Okay, listen, yeah, this is a big opportunity. I'd love to do that. I'd love to, but here's the thing: I've got clients that pay me to get stuff out at a quicker time, and if I do this trial, it's gonna eat out of that time. This is a big opportunity for me. Trust me, I wanna do this, and
Hmm.
that would be great. But like, I've got my integrity on the line here. There's people that trust me to get something done in good time, and I would be willing to push myself if there was more incentive. So they were
Hmm.
like, "Nah, this is unpaid. I know this is how you do your things, but this is a trial. We're not gonna pay you. We just want you to
Mm.
give it your best shot. And if we like what we see, then we move on with you. If not, then obviously, if it's in the budget, we can just pay you for the trial and move on." So I was just like, mm, so I had to go back and mull over that for some time because it was obviously like a big opportunity to be part of. Like, look, for example, I don't see Monsters We Make by Corey,
Yep.
and that was probably the conversation I was having was probably like the the start for me being part of something like that in a couple years time. And I was like,
Hmm.
do I do um what's meant to be done at this moment and just do that, or should I take the blow to my integrity for the chance that this could be something worthwhile. And I was like, you know what, like everyone has a litmus test, and mine is,
Mhm.
I guess mine in this case would be, would you be willing to do business with me the way I'm comfortable doing business? And if the relationship starts with compromise on my end, that's always going to be a problem for me. Like, I'd be I'd be more than happy to, um, what's it called? Work with anybody that's willing to, take time, give me their time, give me their resources to bring their
Mhm.
vision to life. I respect the hustle. I respect you. Um, um, shit. Did I delete that? No, that's right there. I respect you. Um, taking time, taking bread, um, even trusting me with your idea in the first place. It means a lot. But like, if you're not gonna meet me halfway and like make sure I'm comfortable, make sure I'm happy, because I worked hard to make my process the way it was. They like threw
Right.
that out the window. I was like, yeah, if you could just get this slot, at least, even if, because I was tempted to like do it for free. I'll just
Mhm.
push myself and make it happen. I was like, okay, if the least you could do is just officially get a slot, like just get that, and that way, at least in my database and my books, this
Mhm.
is an official um, request from you guys to me to do this. And they
Mhm.
were like, "No, we're not touching that. We can't do that. It's just got to be the way we want to do it." And I was like, "Man, fuck all this.
Wow.
Fuck all this. I'm out." I literally
Uh.
told them. In fact, I sped. So when I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, I'm gonna do this. Just get the slot, and we can happen." So they got the link, but they had added me to the server already. So basically, I'd seen what they were doing, the drafts for because the trial was meant to be 5 pages, 5 pages where I was gonna do inks, lettering, sound effects, and what have you.
Mhm.
And when they reached out to me, it was just inks they wanted. So like the fact that even as we were talking, they were adding more to the plate, and didn't want to like compensate me even if I only wanted like half or like a fraction of what I would normally charge for a comic page.
Yeah,
They
they were moving.
yeah they were not willing to work with me. So that anyway. What where I'm going to is that yeah, that happened. I just had to just make that decision to move past that. But um, what I will say is, while I was there, I did see one or two things about the process of um, manga making, and I was like, damn. That's how I got Clip Studio Paint, and I think I did ask on Twitter about if anyone has ever used it or knows a good tutorial here and there. I'd like to, because um even though I know things didn't work out with them, at least I took, because when I was in there, I was like, okay, I use Procreate. If you're
Mhm.
going to use CSP, there's gonna be some learning curves. I don't wanna I don't wanna slow you guys down. So this and that. So they shared some tutorials, shared some resources, shared some stuff that could help me um, get used to CSP as well. So like even though that didn't work out in terms of the um, me working on the project with them, at least I got all those links saved before they
Yeah.
kicked me out of the server.
He got something out of it.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make anyway is that yeah, just listening to your ideas, your story, and how you were thinking. I don't want to say 5, 6, or 7 steps ahead, but like
Mhm.
at least the vision was you want to make characters and you want to tell stories with these characters. So like even though you're working towards that as a creative, you get new ideas and sometimes it can be a whole new concept. I like that you allowed
Mhm.
yourself to make any new concept still kind of work within the realms of the original idea you had, and it's admirable. So like, I've always wanted to tell stories. Like, I kid you not. Like, my early days, like, I know I've said it once or twice online, but like,
Mhm.
when I first started drawing, it was comics. Like, if you look at my childhood books, notebooks, textbooks, whatever, it was comics I did, like day in and day out. Like Ben 10 comics, Megas XLR comics, Avatar comics, like in fanfics and stuff like that. And they were really fun to do. That's where my heart really was in storytelling. But obviously I felt like something about this just doesn't work for me. Like, it's either is the style or this or the that is just a wonky arm here or wonky eye there. And so I was just like, yeah, I'd like to fix this first and foremost. Like, I want to get better at illustration. Not this. This hand is kicking my ass. Let me just do this. Because where is it? She's got like a see this floofy thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna use that and cheat the system right now. But yeah,
Work
anyways,
smarter, not harder.
exactly. So where was I? Um, yeah. So I was like, yeah, I want to up my illustration game. Then maybe think about uh what it is what it is, like the type of stories I want to tell. Like, obviously, you could be telling stories as nice as you want. If it doesn't look
Mhm.
good, it's not gonna be good. Like,
Right.
I commonly use the example of One Punch Man, and the
Mhm.
original web comic. That was a really nice idea or concept out there, but what what really got it to mass levels of love was the fact that Yusuke Murata, the god that he is,
Mhm.
put it out in such a bold way. Like, I've literally seen people take his panels out and show them frame by frame, and it looks like animation. That's how serious the dude was about bringing this world to life in a way that's absolutely engaging, enthralling, and eye catching. And I was like, yeah, like, I want when I put my story out there, I want that to be, what really gets people's attention. So like the artwork, I want it to pop so much that it resonates with people when it's time to look at the what's next.
Mhm.
Because there's gonna be a lot of artists coming out there, like a lot of people making fan stories or comics or whatever, and you're gonna have to. It's gonna be a battle to stand out by the time I get there. So I was like, if I'm gonna focus on anything right now, it's gonna be like making sure that I know what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
that whatever I put out is as um, eye catching as possible, like illustration wise. So even though I have a good understanding, or like, even though I look like I have been focusing a lot more on illustration, I try my best to get any form of knowledge or either written, audio, or visual knowledge on the process of making and writing, stories
Mhm.
via comics or graphic novels. And from the software to use to the step-by-step breakdown of the processes, the mindset to have, all this and that. I just consider myself a collector of all these things, even down to the point of working with individuals who are on that path as well, like, such as yourself.
Right.
That's why I also didn't turn down that opportunity to work with that TikToker or whatever, because I knew that
Mhm.
there's gonna be a chance that when I get to this point, there's gonna be things I feel I can pick from here that will come in handy when that time comes. And lo and behold, it was. You know.
Yeah. And I know the the inevitable day And I like to say, well, I can say now that we're closer to the whole chapter 0 thing happening after Hell and High Water.
Hell and high water.
Not the Hell and High Water, man, but like I say, like we're closer to the end than we are at the beginning, and I truly, like, 100% mean that. Uh,
That's the aggressive
is
one.
yeah, man. It's
But yeah, like if anything, I want to say, do you ever see yourself like when you do, or like, do you ever see yourself physically promoting the Lightverse?
uh, you said physically what? Sorry.
Promoting the Lightverse or Lionhawk?
What do you mean by preloading?
Oh, sorry, physically promoting the
Oh,
Lightverse
promoter.
or
Yeah.
Lionhawk.
It would be the light verse, but I would not focus in on chapter 0. It would be on the how would I say? It would be focused on some Lionhawk characters. It's like, hey, this is within the multiverse, so you can start with this as a separate experience in comparison to Lightverse Part 1 and 2. There still is a story that's going on here. This one is unaffected. This is just me uh, doing something on the side in compliments to my own stuff already. Um, and I really wanted to be able to set it up because the Lionhawk stuff, it isn't as I'll say it's a lot simpler in ways to follow, but the characters have a lot more depth. Um, in the base Lightverse, I play a lot off of tropes, and it's a lot more lighthearted versus the reality in which the Lionhawk characters live in.
I said Lightheart first.
Lightheart, yeah, coming soon to the Lightverse. After Lionhawk, it's light, a lot of L's. Watch the alliteration here, folks.
Watch out! We got a poet.
We got a man. But yeah, it's gonna start with Lightverse, but then Lionhawk is gonna be a little like, hey, open up this page. You might see a little bit more if you're pulled in. That's why I made that Lionhawk section in the server. It's donor exclusive.
Yeah, I get that. I see that. I see that.
Yeah.
That's big,
Um.
big brain moves.
Yeah, man. Big brain rules, and it's an extra gift to the people that are a little bit more closely invested into the the extended part of the Lightverse. In a perfect world, I'm able to kind of do both at the same time. I think the part that I'm figuring out, but I think I've gotten a good grip on so far, is to how to work on one and then work on the other. Because one is basically written to where it needs to be, and now I need to establish something else where it's like, now I've had the benefit of establishing something original, and now I have that underneath my belt. Now I can kind of do the other part faster with a different perspective that I've wanted to kind of go in and work on it in that certain way.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. Especially challenging myself to with the characters themselves, because I had always worked with people that are, how do I say it? I always work with characters that were maybe very toned down in terms of I say design language, maybe I'll say outfit specifically. Always done things leaning on like the modern side. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's what I should have said. I always started with stuff that was leaning on the modern side of things, even with Dragon Ball stuff, because they got spaceships and stuff. And it does have sci-fi elements. So going with the fantasy perspective on things, it was something that was like a little bit of a challenge to myself, but at the same time, like some of my most favorite games of all time are fantasy games, so it's been in my mind
Okay.
for a long time.
Fair enough. I
Yeah,
see that. I heard that.
yeah, man.
I respect that.
And selfishly, it was like I don't see Daft doing fantasy much. Let's try to change that a little bit.
Oh, fair enough. I guess that's where I guess the benefit of two creatives working together,
hmm
side by side and trying to make create beautiful stuff. It's just another one of the benefits, if
hmm
you will, of that kind of relationship. Like, you see there's some gaps in my work, some areas that I could definitely explore. And you know me, I'm the type of person that explores and wants to explore to the best of his ability.
hmm
I want to put my best foot forward, make sure that if I'm even going to dip my toes in it, it's going to get a 10 out of 10. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, likewise, I think it's just a good opportunity to um, you as well explore the concept with someone that is putting his best foot forward as well. And I think, yeah, I really enjoyed the 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 break from Dragon Ball content that I
hmm
was able to get from the Lightverse. I think back to the first one I did of Lights all the way back when,
hmm
and even though I think he was in his suit, there was the facial aspect
Yeah, the
of the
headshots.
headshots that I could think of how I'm gonna approach it. And while I was heavily thinking Boondocks, I still wanted it to be a bit
Hmm.
because it is I am anime and manga inspired primarily. When I
hmm
think of Afrocentric anime, and I see the likes of again, that's why I just call back to the Boondocks there, and that was there for the longest time. I had been drawing, Dragon Ball, and I didn't want to just throw because what I've always tried to do was really stand out in this thing that I'm doing, and that even from the way I present myself, the way I talk to people, handle client work, and show people how I do what I do, onboarding people and collecting feedback forms. I've always wanted to stand out from the way I saw things being done, for a long time. And that's what I wanted to be one of my unique selling points when people talk about working with DAF. It's a general positive experience where they can be like, yeah, I think he was really professional. I feel like he communicated a lot more. When things went sour on my side, he kept up the communications. We were patient with each other. We could move forward, and ultimately he delivered. That's what I want people to say about their experiences with me.
hmm
And I think yeah, I just uh wanted that to translate even into the work I was doing. So just going back to that earlier point. Um I forgot the earlier point. I was just thinking in the back. But yeah, go back to that earlier point. Making sure that the idea is brought to life in a good way really goes a long way, and like whether or not it takes off or not, there is that at least feeling you get, that knowing that it's the best foot forward you put out there.
hmm
And that's just a really important thing for me with this.
Yeah. If you're gonna try something, at least put 100 into it, or don't try it at all.
Exactly, man. You said it.
Yeah.
You said it.
Especially, especially in an experimental phase, because I know some creatives kind of go where the wind blows, and you're just coasting before you can really lock in on an idea.
The wind's blowing in a
Um,
different way.
yeah, yeah, man. It's it is to what you said earlier. Like when I establish something, I kind of try to follow my own rules without. Okay, I'm gonna change this now. It's like, all right, some things there, sure, they need to change, or I complete or finalize some of where I was going, because now I know where I'm going on these train tracks, metaphorically speaking, and now I know how to really enhance what I've done before. I painted a broad picture.
Yeah.
Now I know I could add the mountains, add the foliage, add everything. Detail, detail, detail.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And I think that's where I'm at now, where I'm able to and I use Lionhawk as the test. Like I'm gonna make a character, and then I'm gonna really put it out when I have everything all together. I'm gonna sit with it. I'm gonna wait, see if anything new comes about, and then go forward. And I think with that approach, in comparison to the Lightverse characters, the Lionhawk ones are those. And it's not to say that I have put more work into one over the other. It's just to say that my cooking approach is a little bit different with those guys.
Fair enough.
Um, yeah. So I'm happy that every single one I've been doing, I'm confident with it. I'm putting 100 into it,
Mhm.
and the perspective of it is still strong in my view.
Yeah, that's good. And yeah, I think just going back to it as well, I think I remembered some of the point I was making before about just trying to stand out.
Mhm.
So because um, just talking more about what I was seeing out there, like people that artists that really got into a certain style whenever they did other commissions for other styles. Like someone says, "Oh, can you draw like Eddie Brock for me?"
Mhm.
Or Peter Parker for me. They draw Spider Man, then they have him taking off his mask, and you just see Yamcha with the lower cut, and you're like, bruh, like
uh-huh.
I know that Dragon Ball is really inspired you in your art journey or whatever, but like if
Mhm.
someone's asked you to draw something else and like you and everybody knows it's from a different universe, you at least put some effort to try and draw um in a style that's more attuned to that universe, and just carry over the Dragon Ball influence over there. And sometimes it works, but from my perspective, it just doesn't feel artistic enough. As
Mhm.
artists, you're creative. You're meant to make something out of nothing. You're meant to use what you have to make something new to make people feel things.
Right.
And if you're just regurgitating a certain style, it's not even your original style. It's just kind of, it's kind of sad for what when you think about what could have been. You know.
Mhm.
But yeah. That said, though, I think I'm gonna stop here today
Okay.
because I also don't want to overload my system. I'm gonna check out how much space or how many the size of this recording I'm doing. Let me just go shut that down now, so I'm not having a headache.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, if it is